Hello, everyone. Hello, welcome to this discussion of one peer's practice of DEIB. I'm Ursula Mortimer. I'm a companion of the Order of the Laurel, and I live in the Middle Kingdom, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm going to start off by discussing the ways in which I am privileged, characteristics that I have that bring me some form of privilege. To begin with, I'm white. That's huge. I live in America and I'm white, and that means that I am always privileged in every situation, wherever I go, whoever I'm with, to some degree. I am also cisgender. I was born in a body that was identified as female, and I'm completely comfortable with that. I'm a woman, and I'm very secure in that identity. So again, that's something that makes it easy for me. My gender presentation and my gender identity and what other people expect of me, I'll match. I have a fair degree of educational privilege. I have advanced degrees from some well-known universities, and although that doesn't come up as a topic of discussion very often, it does strongly inform how I go about my life. I have this. I'm an SCA peer. You know what that means. I am mostly able-bodied, although I do have a few conditions that sometimes limit certain activities. On the whole, I'm what people think of as a healthy person. I can walk, I can carry things, I can endure a certain amount of discomfort. I'm middle class, sort of, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. And finally, I have the privilege of being safe among my intimates. My partners, my family and friends are all people who treat me well. And honestly, this isn't something I ever thought of as a privilege until I was in the process of preparing for this class. And I realized that that is something that I have that not everyone can count on. So those are my privileges. And now I'd like to list some of the ways in which I am a member of marginalized groups. Again, there's a really big one right at the front. I'm a woman. I am also bisexual and non-monogamous. And while, how can I put this? I am not conscious of a lot of difficulty in my life because of these things, because of these traits. It does cause people to make unwarranted assumptions about me. And then I have the consequences of those assumptions to deal with. I am old. I'm 60 years old. That's not old or very old, but it's certainly not young. And we do live in a society that privileges youth. So I am on the unprivileged side of that. I am also fat. I'm what people in fat activism would call mid-fat. That means I can still buy clothes in most regular stores, but nobody seeing me is going to think of me as average. I'm large. There's a lot of fat hatred. If you didn't know, you probably did. I am a member of a minority religion. Again, not something I talk about a lot, kind of by choice. This is something that subjects me to a surprising number of microaggressions. And I have a mild mental illness. I have, how shall I put, I have financial ups and downs. I'm not always, sometimes I'm comfortably middle class. More often I'm hanging on financially to stay in the middle class. Sometimes I'm downright poor. And finally, I was physically and psychologically abused in the past. So while I am now in the privileged group of people who are safe at home, I know what it's like not to be. So that's 15 characteristics of me. And they're split almost evenly between privilege and non-privilege. And I mention all these things both to give you an understanding of who you're listening to and to point out that most of us are a complex of these characteristics. And this is what intersectionality means, is that nobody belongs to just one group or just one class. We are all complex beings and probably have privileges we haven't thought about, and also probably are vulnerable in areas we may not have thought about. So I'm going to discuss my everyday practice in the SCA, things that I try to do routinely as part of just being me and going about my business. This is where I am personally right now in my journey. And if you have been practicing DEIB a lot longer and you're way down the road from me, please have mercy. If you haven't thought about some of this before and it sounds completely ridiculous to you, please have patience. We're all in a different spot on the board. So my practice right now, the things that I do fall into three main categories: social interactions, continuing education, and SCA activism. And those sound very grand, but I think that when you hear the details, you'll realize that a lot of these are quite small, and I feel that that's okay. Life is tough, and we're all doing the best we can, and this is what I'm trying to do. And I make mistakes. So social interactions. The fundamental thing for me is the realization that I'm not the world, that other people are not me, and that is, as we say in the mid-realm, a right and proper thing. They're not supposed to be me. I'm not supposed to be them. As you can see on your screen, I've listed my pronouns. And I want to talk in some detail about how I address pronouns, because I feel like it kind of exemplifies what I mean by daily practice. When, let's say I meet my friend, well, Tarmac is here. So let me say I meet my friend Tarmac. And Tarmac introduces me to Bird and Stephen. Okay. And I want to know about their pronouns. So I'm going to say, hello, Bird, I'm Ursula. My pronouns are she, her. What are yours? So I did a few things there. I used the person's name to show that, yes, I see you and I acknowledge you as a human with a name. And then I offered my pronouns first, even though I present female pretty clearly. And in fact, I look like a grandma, and I'm not yet, fingers crossed, but I look like one. And they can probably guess that my pronouns are going to be she and her, but I don't ask them to guess. I offer mine first. Bird says, oh, hi, Ursula. My pronouns are they, them. I say, thank you. Then I turn to Stephen. Stephen is 6'4" and has an axe and a long yellow beard. And I say, I'm Ursula, she, her. What are your pronouns, Stephen? And I'm doing that because I'm showing Stephen, as well as Bird, I'm not going to make an assumption about who he is. We're going to assume Stephen then answers my pronouns are he, him. I'm not going to make an assumption. And also, if Stephen's never thought about it before, I'm giving him a gentle hint that you don't have to make an assumption. You can just ask. Finally, by asking openly and being unembarrassed about it, I take away the burden from Bird of worrying about being misgendered. So that's an example of a very ordinary, easy thing that I can do that I feel is helpful. I may learn later that it's not as great as I think it is, but that's okay too. I'm trying. I'm a performer. That means I often stand up in front of a group of SCA folks and I want to get their attention. And when I do that, I don't say ladies and gentlemen or lords and ladies. I say something gender neutral, such as your majesties, your excellencies, noble peers, and gentles all. Those are all non-gendered words. And it's just as easy to say that. And it's more applicable to the situation than a simple ladies and gentlemen because it acknowledges people's SCA titles too. Now I'm going to talk about needs. It's been brought home to us that not everybody attending an event is 24, able to walk 2 miles carrying their gear, able to sit in the sun for 12 hours, able to stand for half an hour. So when somebody expresses a need, whether it's to attend an event or to feel safe at a meeting or whatever the need is, I try to assume they're asking in good faith. And this seemed kind of a no-brainer to me because it's embarrassing to ask for special accommodations. It's hard to ask. If somebody is overcoming their nervousness or their discomfort in order to ask for help, I feel that there's a very strong likelihood that they really need it. So if somebody expresses a need, assume it's a legitimate need and I work to fill it. And the flip side of this is when other privileged people don't see the need, I try to make it visible to them or to do something to change the situation. There was a case that happened when we were preparing for a major event recently. One of the people on the staff of the event was complaining because an attendee had asked for an accommodation for a certain disability. And it wasn't a disability that we had a lot of experience accommodating. We needed to learn about how to arrange for this person to enjoy the event. And this staffer was at a meeting, at a group meeting, and publicly complaining about how much trouble this was. And I was disturbed that this conversation should take place. And I now feel that the right thing to have done would be have spoken up in the moment and said, you know, I think what you're saying is inappropriate. I think we should be happy to have the opportunity of accommodating a visitor. But I didn't. What I did do was go to that person's peer and say, this happened with your dependent, and I feel that it was inappropriate, and I wish you'd speak to them about it. Which was something. It wasn't the best thing. I try to watch still talking about needs. I try to watch for and meet individual needs. And they may be related to diversity and they may not, but it's really not my place to judge. I'm just wanting to help. A couple of easy examples. When I see somebody at an event and they're standing and they're looking around like they might be lost or at a loss, I go and ask if I can help. Are you looking for something? Do you need something? Very easy to do. Habitually, I'm 60. I am past menopause. I don't have periods anymore. but I habitually carry in my day bag a couple little zipper pouches. One has tampons and one has pads, so that if somebody is in sudden need of these items, I can just hand them the little zipper pocket and say, here, keep this. And that person has what they need. That's like so tiny. It's so trivial, but it's there. So those are some examples of ways that I try to conduct myself in social situations. Now, some of the ways that I try to continue educating myself about DEIB. Take advantage of learnings offered by the society officer. Charles de Bourbon has these wonderful social media posts that refer you to articles, or they discuss a vocabulary word, or let you know that some kind of a meeting like this event is taking place. There are a lot of opportunities right now. This is kind of the flowering of this kind of self-education within the SCA. So it's readily available. Read books. You know, there are libraries. Again, if you search for something to read, it will be easy to find something. I've had two very good works recommended to me today. One just in the course of casual conversation that I intend to read both of. There's a thing that I picked up from a meme, and I started doing it, and wow, it's been helpful. And this is not SCA specific, but just a way to educate oneself about less privileged groups in real life. They suggested 50. I don't have that kind of time. I picked 5 or 6. They said, follow people who aren't of your group. You know, if you're white, follow people of color. If you're able-bodied, follow disabled people. And so on. Follow them on their social media. Read what they say and don't comment. There's a kind of a bias among people like me, well-educated, white, often older people, who feel like we need to have something to say on every subject. I'm trying hard to unlearn that and just listen. And it is very illuminating. Even if it's like one post a week, I learn from that stuff. At the same time, I try to listen to people I do know, my friends who are less privileged than me in one or more ways. But this comes with the caveat that I make a very strong effort not to expect those people to be my teachers. I don't know of anything that any marginalized person hates more than being asked to stand in for their whole group. Well, you're Black. What do you think about so-and-so? They know they're Black. Just ask them what they think and be ready to hear, I'm not up to talking about that right now. Or, you know what? Just go read this book. Those are legitimate answers. And finally, the thing that I do that I feel is critical to all of this, all parts of this process for me, is to reflect. I just try to listen and think about what I hear. I've got 5 minutes left to talk. So moving on, SCA activism, help when asked, right? Like now, okay? I'm here, I am being very open with you. I am not an expert in any of this. I don't have training other than what I've gathered through my own reading. I'm probably wrong about, I'm certainly wrong about something I said today, and I'm probably wrong about several somethings. But I'm here sticking my neck out because I was asked to help. Right to the bod. If you have an opinion, send it into the bod. I'm not going to argue about it. Just write 3 lines of an email and send it. comments@sca.org. Okay. One of the things I do is, oh, thank you, Colfina. One of the things that I do, I've just taken this up recently, as a part of being made aware. I went, oh, I should do something about that. My husband is disabled, and it's not going to be that long until I'm functionally disabled too. I already am at Pensick. So when we're planning an event, I always ask about access. Are there stairs? Is there a ramp? What are the bathrooms like? See something, say something, up to a point. I think all of us in the SCA, or a lot of us, I shouldn't accuse us all. I have the white knight fantasy. Oh, I'm going to speak up and I'm going to save that girl from getting raped, or I'm going to, change the world by standing here and saying, no, this is wrong. That is a good impulse, but I also wait to be sure that the person I propose to rescue actually needs and wants rescuing. I heard a wonderful term earlier today in Zara's class, DEIB 101, fumbling forward. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to fumble forward to be better than I was, to be a good example to others, because and that's why the word peer is in this class title, because that's what I believe the job of a peer is, to do better and to keep trying to grow. I want to close with a little story about my student, Ezra of Barcelona. Ezra came to his first Pensick, and one of the first things he did when getting on site, he was booked to come and help me set up my pavilion. And we did that, and then we changed into our garb, and he looked at me, and with a glow of total joy, he said, I have 2 whole weeks to be Ezra. That's what we want. That's what I want. I hope you do too. We want to give people time to be who they are. Thank you. If you would like a copy of my notes, Captain Wolfram will grab it. Put your email in the chat. Captain Wolfram will grab it and send it to me. Or you can email me. Would you repeat my email in the chat, Wolfram? Thank you very much. I think we need to clear out of here so the next class can start, but you're welcome to email me any questions or comments that you have. Thank you all.
All right, we're on the in-between screen.
I've never done this before, so I would really welcome any feedback you care to send.
Thank you so much for having this class. This was a good time.